Salah obviously made no secret to the fact that Liverpool hadn't approached him with regards to a new contract in his post-match interview, Macca. His contract obviously ends at this season. What would you do?
Yes. Well, let's sign him up, Dan, but of course, we all know his age. We all know that he's probably I think he's the highest paid player by far at Liverpool at this moment in time. So Liverpool have a pay structure that they have to adhere to. Of course, every Liverpool fan in their right minds wants him to stay, the form he's in and the fitness levels he has. And, you know, the fact that his endurance levels are fantastic. He very, very rarely gets injured. Let's hope that continues. But, you know, at 32, 33, 34, he can't be continuing to get, you know, a huge pay rise every single time, because it just absolutely smashes the pay structure. And it smashes what the clubs in the Premier League are doing by trying to come into the PSR regulations now. So there has to be a number that Liverpool and Mo Salah can agree on, and I think then it'll be easy to do. Likewise with Virgil van Dijk, there has to be a number that both of them are happy at, because I think Liverpool wants him. I think he wants to stay, but it all comes down to wage demands or how they structure the wages, whether it's a pay-as-you-play, whether it's incentive-based, whether it's you get more money if you win trophies. And let's hope they come to an amicable agreement and he stays, because he's the most wonderful player. His longevity is fantastic, and he still looks as sprightly as ever, doesn't he?
Most definitely.
It just comes down to age, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if he's 28, it's not really a discussion unless he just doesn't agree on the wages if he was 28, but he's not. So a lot of this might come down to how much Mo Salah actually wants to stay. Do you know what I'm saying? Because he's unlikely to be getting some long deal taking him to 35. He might do, but as Macca said, it could be incentivised. And then if Liverpool make him what they feel is a firm and decent offer for someone of his age, and I suppose his ability and his how much of an asset he still is, then it comes down to the fact, does he want to go searching for another huge payday on a big, longer contract somewhere else that can afford to give it to him? I mean, that won't be in the Premier League. It's unlikely to be in Spain or Italy either, again, because he's 32. So again, we're looking at Saudi Arabia and places like that where you're just going to a football and backwater. But it will come down a lot to whether A, they make him a good enough offer, and B, if he wants to stay and play ball. But at 32, you've got to understand clubs, and a lot of clubs have been burnt over the years, dishing out these big, long contracts to guys in their 30s, and most clubs are now trying to get away from that. And that leaves them in a difficult situation, because as a player, as an individual, you're always looking to do what the best you can for yourself. So you're pushing it one way and the club are pushing it a different way. So it's going to be an interesting one. I hope it doesn't sort of cloud the season for him and these talks, sort of get in the way. And I'm sure they'll be having them, and his agent will be having them. But I think it's a difficult scenario for Liverpool to be in, having such a superstar at this age on the big bucks that he's on.
It's a strange point to kind of try and make, Macca, but is there an argument to say that maybe he's slightly underrated given what he gives to Liverpool? And if he does leave, how do you fill those numbers in his absence?
Well, that's the big question. Filling the numbers is going to be incredibly difficult, Dan, of course. I don't think the club feel as if he's underrated, because, as I said, he's the highest paid, and he's the highest paid by a mile at the moment in time. So I don't think the club feel he's underrated. But everything that Craig says is completely true. He's got 10 months on his deal. He can sign a deal with a foreign club in January. So if he wants to stay and come to an agreement and come to a figure with Liverpool, I mean, the figure won't be paltry. It will not be paltry at all. It'll just be sensible. He'll still be incredibly well paid for a number of years. It's just how well paid he wants to be. Because as Craig rightly said, come December, come November, if he hasn't signed a contract, there'll be people contacting his agent saying, look, how much does he want? He can pre-sign a deal with us in January, February, whenever he wants. We'll make him, the richest man in X, Y, and Z. So if he wants to stay at Liverpool and he enjoys the club and he wants to play at the highest level, I think Liverpool and him will come to a figure that they can agree. It's just whether It's just how sensible they both are. But of course, Liverpool wants him. That goes without saying. Every Liverpool fan wants him as well. And you hope, like they do with Virgil van Dijk, who looks as if he can play for a number of years, and like you hope with Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's only a baby really when it comes to his footballing career, you hope the three deals will be done, and will be done very sensibly, very privately. And, you know, I know Liverpool are talking to them already about these contracts now the transfer window was out of the way.
I said the other day, and we were talking about it, we looked at those numbers on the graphic, quite incredible. His worst year, I think there was 23 goals, 2019, 2020. 23 goals, you're not even going to... You think that's a great year.
Yeah.
Right? But let's not forget, we're talking about a wide player. There's no other wide player going to come in, don't care who it is, and get those numbers. Right? So you're now looking at a striker. If you want to replicate and go past those numbers, it has to be a front man. And they're unlikely to do that. That's going to cost a lot of money. Look at the other wide players. It's City and Arsenal and other teams. There's nobody getting those numbers. The strikers are. Haaland's getting them. But he's the focal point. He's through the middle. So it's not just the fact that you're losing... Well, you're not losing Mo Salah, but you possibly could because of the contract scenario. It's you're not bringing a player in his position. You're going to lose, I'm going to say, 20 goals. Because a normal wide player is maybe going to get you between 5 and 10.
Yeah.
So you're losing 20 goals plus. So you have to replace that. You have to replace that, and that's buying another player, not just somebody replacing them in the wide position.